parts of Gaza City after the Israeli military began the first stages of a planned ground offensive. Israel's troops have established a foothold on the outskirts of the city, which is home to more than 1 million Palestinians after days of intense bombing and artillery fire. This has prompted the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres to renew calls for an immediate ceasefire to avoid the death and destruction an assault would inevitably cause. Israel wants to signal that it is pressing ahead with its plan to capture all of Gaza City despite international criticism. Hundreds of Palestinians in the Zaytun and Sabra neighborhoods of Gaza City have left towards the northwestern part of the city. Gaza City residents describe relentless bombardment overnight into Thursday. In a tragic development, suspected gunmen have attacked about 7 villages of the Chakfem district of Mangu local government area of Plateau State, killing 15 people. The fresh attacks took place in Mandan, Join, Jiblang, Kopang, Mitihin and Jilem villages, where the attackers burnt down several houses and looted many animals in the villages belonging to the residents of the communities. A source told journalists that many people were left with different degrees of injuries when they were attacked by the gunmen, making over 3,000 people flee their homes for safety. The national president of Mwagavu Development Association, Mr. Bulus David, while confirming the incident, explained that information about the attack was delayed due to the inaccessibility of the affected areas, saying that the victims included women and children. He further explained that the incident took place on Monday evening between 7:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. when many residents were already asleep, adding that the assailants burnt down several houses, including the traditional ruler's residence and his official vehicle. David also pointed out that those who could run were able to escape from the attackers, while those who could not were unfortunately murdered. In a recent development, a prominent Islamic cleric, Sheikh Muritala Asada, has faulted suggestions for peace talks with bandit leader Bello Turji, warning that such moves would endanger communities in the northwest. Asada on Wednesday dismissed the recent comments by Professor Abubakar Usman Riba, who had urged the federal government to initiate dialogue with Bello Turji as part of efforts to address insecurity in the region. Now, according to the cleric, negotiations with the notorious bandit kingpin will only embolden criminals. The cleric also reacted to a viral audio clip allegedly featuring him in conversation with Turji. He explained that the recording was about 5 years old and no longer reflected his current position. Asada therefore maintained that residents must prioritize vigilance and self-defense over expectations of government brokered peace with individuals like Turji. Still on the world news at 12, the federal government has closed down about 13,597,057 practices by users of social media platforms such as TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and X, formerly called Twitter. This was disclosed in the Code of Practice 2024 compliance report submitted to the government by promoters of interactive computer service platforms such as Google, Microsoft and TikTok, amongst others. The Code of Practice was issued jointly by the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC), the National Information Technology Development Agency (NITDA), and the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC). The 2024 report is titled Code of Practice 2024 Compliance Report highlights social media platforms' efforts on online harm protection. A statement released on Wednesday by the spokesperson for NITDA, Hadiza Umar, said that a total of 58,909,112 offensive content were taken down from various platforms. The government agency commended Google, Microsoft and TikTok for their continued compliance with the Code of Practice for interactive computer service platforms, internet intermediaries, and also noted that 754,629 registered complaints were received. The NITDA spokesperson added that 420,439 pieces of content were removed and re-uploaded following appeals by users. Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo has said anyone who promises to serve for only one term should be made to go for a psychological evaluation. Speaking during the Monitor television interview, the governor defended his statement against the promise made by 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. Obi had promised that he only needed one tenure of 4 years to bring noticeable change in Nigeria's governance system. The pledge by Obi rattled some politicians, including Governor Soludo, who said he believes that the former governor is being dishonest with his supporters. During the interview, Governor Soludo said his call for mental evaluation for any politician who makes such a promise stems from debate over zoning in Anambra politics. According to him, similar promises have been made by politicians in the past but have been rejected by the electorate. He added that systems have already been created to support zoning and nobody would appreciate anyone coming to cut the process short. Let's take a listen to Governor Chukwuma Soludo making these pronouncements again during a monitored television interview.
In a context where you have established a process of zoning and somebody wants to cut short that particular zoning or to, if you like, torpedo that, they come with this sweetener. Or if you give me this and then I will only spend this. They know they were being disingenuous. They came with that argument in 2017 when my predecessor was running for a second term. They came here and telling a number of people, oh, some people promising us, including some people on the terrain today. A number of people were quick to see through the disingenuity of that kind of promise, and of course voted massively for APGA. We won 21 over 21 local governments in that election. Nobody bought that crap, as it were. And now again we are in for another election, and some people are again emerging in the same state. I am from the south, and the north just finished, handed over to the south, and the south will serve its term, and then it will go to central. And now some people from the south senatorial zone are showing up because they realize that it does just that. Because they say, oh, don't worry, if you vote for me, so they are swimming against the tide. Oh, if you vote for me, I will spend only one term. I will spend only one term. Meanwhile, you see the manifesto that they are rolling out. You realize that even if they were to spend even 20 years, they wouldn't even scratch it. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to describe it. So you're just taking the people to be, you're just playing on the people's intelligence. You just think everybody is a fool. You just think, sorry. If anybody saying that, it's either is just being deliberately deceitful, okay, or there might be something not working right upstairs to take the entire people of Anambra State as fools, you know, to think that the entire people are fools, not to see through the lie, not to see through the deception, then the person must have a mental issue.
Still on the world news at 12 in the maritime sector, an emphatic pronouncement was made on Wednesday by the Registrar Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria, CRFFN, Mr. Kingsley Igwe, while speaking in a meeting with some members of the National Single Window Project, NSWP, the body responsible for coordinating the implementation of the federal government single window policy for all things trade in Nigeria. While speaking, team leader Mr. Tola Fakolade described the NSWP as a platform where all government agencies engage in one platform to complete all the processes of import and export, to improve trade facilitation, true transparency, and expediting all the processes in the logistics supply chain. The CRFFN presentation made by Florence Igbuna to the NSWP team included the Council's formation through the Act 16 of 2007, the fact that over 4,000 companies have been registered by the Council since inception, and that the Council has recently registered 148 companies. On his part, Mr. Igwe revealed that they have been training practitioners at port terminals, which has been greatly commended. He noted that the Council is in collaboration with the Nigerian Ports Authority, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Customs Service in training at their various domains, along with the different engagement therein. Mr. Fakolade also explained that the NSWP is required to be domiciled with the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS), and that it is not intended to deny any agency of its revenue but to block revenue leakages. You're currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll be speaking with legal luminary Barrister Fred Nzako on the issues in the news this afternoon. Do stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. I have via the telephone Barrister Fred Nzako. Good afternoon to you, sir, and thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Barrister. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining us. Let us quickly begin with Governor Soludo again, calling for mental evaluation.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Barrister Fred Nzako. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Wonderful. I want to begin with Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo again calling for mental, psychological and psychiatric evaluation for anyone who's promising to serve Nigerians for only one term if elected presidency. And many Nigerians believe he's directing this to Peter Obi. Last week, he came out to say he has an over 22-year friendship with President Tinubu, and of course, he will support him. Some sources who have been speaking to us over time believe that not just him, but other people within APGA are angry with Obi for leaving the party when he swore that he would not leave. And that is the reason for this rancor and what many people are seeing as a betrayal for this hate and this vituperation. How do you weigh into this situation?
Why are people stoking troubles where they don't exist? In the first instance, I do not agree or accept that Soludo directed his vituperations on Honorable Mr. Peter Obi because there was no basis for that. Their lanes are different. They are not chasing the same fowl, so there was no need for that. I guess he was directing those people who were eyeing his seat. Mr. Peter Obi is eyeing Aso Professor Soludo is eyeing to retain his seat at Aguaka, the seat of Anambra State Capital. So there are entirely two different pursuits and entirely two different scenarios. And among his opponents, there are people who have also promised that they will do one term, especially the people from his own senatorial zone, because he is from Anambra South senatorial zone. And then there is this, even though unwritten, but very strong understanding among the political elites and the people of Anambra State that there will be rotation among the three zones for the office of the governor. And then his expectation is that the next, after his tenure, the next zone that will produce the governor will be Anambra Central. So his fellow countryman from his zone is now promising that he will do one tenure. So he just made that statement just to slight that man. And of course, you could see that there are always rancors in between them. The other day, the same man was accosted by the deputy governor, and then there was a shouting match on the day of the by-election. So I do not think that he directed that at Peter Obi. But because everything that happens in Nigeria, they will begin to look for the name Mr. Peter Obi. That name has become so phenomenal that virtually everybody now sleeps and wakes Peter Obi. And I do not blame the people who always talk about them, because that is the people's president. Not only that he is the president of the people in their minds, he was the president that the people voted for. And that is why every now and then, some mention his name out of love. Some other mention his name out of guilt, because they know they stole his mandate. And in that wise, virtually everybody has Mr. Peter Obi's name on his lips. So I do not think that Soludo directed that at him. But because Soludo is always wanting to lengthen his shadow by reducing the shadows of others, without knowing that the length of any man's shadow is determined by God and not by human vituperations. And that's why people will very easily want to drag in Mr. Obi's name into that is a political mudslinging, which of course is very unfortunate, because somebody at his level that is sitting on such a leadership position should not use such gutter backyard motopark language. That language is synonymous with motopark touts and not that of a governor.
By saying that someone needs mental evaluation, that's motor park language. Anyway, what would you say to those who believe that the All Progressives Grand Alliance is not very happy with Peter Obi and his moves since late 2022 when he declared to run for the presidency under the Labour Party, because he swore that he would remain with APGA and then he's left the party. He's been with the Labour Party, contested under the party in 2023. He's not the president as at this moment. He has an alliance with the ADC. We have many people telling us that, look, President Tinubu is the one who is responsible for the problems in the Labour Party and he's bankrolling the Abure faction. With the ADC, we are seeing Atiku putting his foot forward. He wants to be the presidential candidate of the party despite the north-south voting. Doesn't this leave Obi politically stranded? Do you see President Tinubu's hand in this? And how does the annoyance that sources are saying APGA has towards him, how does this play into the scenario?
You brought so many issues in your question, but let's take care of that of APGA. Anybody who feels pained that Mr. Peter Obi left APGA, ask that person whether APGA belongs to him. So why would such pain happen? Are they now saying that Mr. Peter Obi cannot advance his interest or even seek to save this country? I see Mr. Peter Obi as a man who is on a mission to rescue Nigeria. He wants to put in his best before age and the natural debilitation catches up with him, which is the way of every mortal. And he knows that he has the capacity to do so, and he has proven that capacity. And Nigerians trust him. So if anybody is saying, oh, why would you leave APGA? Does APGA belong to anybody? Politics is, every political party is an association of persons. If a woman can swear not to divorce a man, go to the church or to the court or to any other holy place of matrimony and take an oath before God that they will never leave this man, I will never leave this woman till they do us part. Some years down the line, something happens, and then you leave. So are you going to crucify the person that said, "Oh, why would you not stay there?" Even when the marriage has become very toxic and very choking, and almost threatening the life of a partner. So if anybody is saying, "Oh, Mr. Peter Obi must not leave APGA," towards what end? So does APGA belong to anybody? And meanwhile, are you restricting any man from going where he feels he will contribute more to the development of this country? What is APGA offering? If the environment in APGA has become so toxic that he cannot stay, and you want him to continue to stay, I think these are all political mudslinging games, which begs the question. The critical question is leadership with integrity, leadership with honor, leadership that is compassionate, that has the welfare of the people at heart, and not mere mounting political party. But it really does not make any meaning. If APGA can win an election around the country and present a candidate that will change the fortune of this country, then APGA should come up with that. Or is it this one that they will sleep APGA in the afternoon and APC at night? Is that what you mean? Or even at all times trying to hide under the cloak of another political party just to make a statement? I think those making such statements are not being honest even to themselves. And the issue of whether Mr. President is complicit or is the one fueling the challenges in other political parties. But the answer is there already. The political party officials themselves, the fellow politicians who are on the opposition, have said that Mr. President and his party are the ones causing their problems by compromising the integrity of their leaders. Now you can now ask the question, why would the leader's integrity be compromised? These are all questions that go to the fundamentals of Nigerian political affairs, fundamentals of Nigerian political direction. Do we have politics of identity? Do you have politics of integrity? Do you have politics that will have a definite stand other than politics of me, myself, and I, where it becomes very easy to compromise the next person? And why would a leader now want to compromise in a winner-takes-all approach to Nigerian politics? And when we say that Nigerian politics is still not growing, if you call it nascent, is even a promotion. It is even declining from where it was in 1999. It is getting worse. 25 years, 26 years after. And it should worry everybody. We've been talking about strengthening our political dimensions and strengthening our political culture and ensuring that our electoral system is fortified. But nobody is looking in all that direction. Everybody is thinking of grab power, utilize power, steal as much public wealth as you can, make your family and your relations very comfortable, and let the rest take care of themselves. That is not politics. It is personal aggrandizement, and it is your politics is all about leadership structure. How do you present good governance to the people, and not how to amass wealth and take care of yourself? If you talk of amassing wealth and take care of yourself from public treasury, that amounts to for want of better word, stealing of public patrimony. Because when there is budget padding, when there is overbloating of budget estimates, when there is overbloating of cost of governance, and all the things that reduce the capacity of the state to take care of the people, amount to infraction on the welfare of the people, which is not contemplated by the Constitution or by the law.
By Fadin Zako, when this happens, the people take to social media platforms to express their discontent with the current administration. Unfortunately, a report has revealed that this current administration is allegedly using the National Broadcasting Commission, that is the NBC, which is Nigeria's broadcasting regulatory authority, to control TV and radio stations in a bid to suppress criticism of this particular administration. Now, the U.S. Department of State revealed this in its latest report. That's the 2024 country report on human rights practices in Nigeria. They are saying we need to have a large and a vibrant private press, which frequently criticizes the government and their policies, but that this current administration tries to control much of TV and radio programming through the NBC. Do you agree with this particular assertion? And this is not coming from any Nigerian media reports now. This is coming from the U.S. Department of State. It was last week you and I had a conversation on Canada designating APC and PDP as terrorist organizations. Now, due to the Human Rights Practices Watch, we're also being put under the U.S. radar at this moment.
When we say we need to fortify our institutions so that the institutions will be above every other person's, because the institutions of state are not supposed to pander to the whims and caprices of individuals, because the individuals must be subsumed and must be subservient to state institutions. But in our climb, the institutions now pander to the whims of men in power, in which case, instead of having strong institutions, we are having strong men with weak institutions. That's why it is always very easy. It didn't just start with this administration. So when we say this administration, we are not singling this administration. All administrations in this country have been found guilty of this type of practice of not building very reliable strategic institutions that will ask questions. You are talking about NBC. The same way NBC is being used as an attack dog of the government in power is the same way EFCC is being used by the government in power. President Obasanjo used EFCC to intimidate and harass others. President Buhari did the same thing. President Tinubu is now being accused of doing the same thing. I think it was only President Jonathan and President Yar'Adua that escaped such criticism, because they had a human face to their administration. They sought to build institutions, and they sought to build a country that will live beyond them, that will have a democratic culture that will be deepened towards growth and development of the country. Outside these two gentlemen, the rest have been accused of abuse of their office, high-handedness, and manipulation of federal institutions to attack opposition, and you cannot take it away from those who are crying, because the optics are there, the examples are there all over the place. Now, if the government continues this way, how are you going to have a deepened democratic culture that will now be not just carrying everybody along, but ensuring that we have formidable, strong institutions? In other crimes, a president can be asked questions. President Jacob Zuma of South Africa came down from power and was put in prison. Many other presidents in some other countries, either they were put in prison or they were tried and they charged. I now ask you, Which president in this country since independence, apart from the time that the military harassed Shehu Shagari and Alex Ekweme unjustly, which was later proven to the actions of the military under Muhammad Buhari was very unjust against the political leaders. Which other leader of this country had been so harassed or even queried or asked questions to give account of their stewardship up to today? None. Not a single one. Not even investigation that will be conducted to find out what went wrong. So you now see that the president now become above board.
Well, by President Zako, some Nigerians will say
the Constitution seems to be tailored towards ensuring their safety instead of ensuring the well-being of the entire country.
All right. When we are seeing a situation where it seems that the executive controls the legislative and judiciary, isn't this something that will continue to happen? But before we talk about that, because of our time, I want to quickly talk about this particular report. We're talking about human rights and press repression. I want to talk about this particular report on the federal government shutting down over 13 million social media accounts all across the country, and also removing some content that they claim to be offensive. 13.5 million, almost 13.6 million social media accounts were shut down. Right now, so many millions of content were also removed because the Nigerian Communications Commission, the National Information Technology Development Agency, and the NBC says that these were harmful. How do we know that these were not just targeted to people who were also critics of the government? How do we know the kind of content that were removed? There have been criticism of the cybercrime, the cyberbullying, and cyber stalking act, and how it's been used to target people who speak against the government.
It is the duty of those who felt incensed by the actions of government to show their anger through their voting pattern. It's as simple as that. You cannot sit down at home and be criticizing government, and when it comes to come to the field, to use your thumb, just spend an hour, use your thumb to change the dynamics and the trajectory of your country, you are found wanting. So I have nothing to tell those people other than to encourage them to sustain their anger to the extent that come the election day in 2027, they will show that their anger one way or the other towards ensuring that we have a better country. Criticism at home without expression at the ballot is a wasted criticism. If 13.5 million people whose social media handles have been closed down get angry enough to troop out and vote, then we'll have a changed country that will realize that whoever that is voted in will now know that there is power of the people, the power lies in the thumb, and the power of the thumb is more than the barrel of the gun. So said Chairman Mao, and we expect to see that in 2027.
Well, by Zako, you're blaming the people who voted for this current administration for whatever is happening within this administration, not blaming the administration for the policies that they are making.
Well, that is Stockholm syndrome. We have seen it when people are in love with their oppressors. That is exactly what we are seeing in the country. Because sometimes you think that those who support this government are benefiting from the government. Many of them don't even know where the budget is passed. Many of them don't even have any direct dealing with the government. They just want to be parochial, tribalistic, ethnic, and they dispense religious bigotry in one way or the other. As far as they are concerned, it is either my own person, whether that my person is doing it right or not, or wrong, they don't give a damn. That is called Stockholm syndrome. When you are in love with your oppressors, many Nigerians are suffering from that syndrome.
But by Zako, what we're talking about here is people's content being removed on social media without even giving them an opportunity to explain what is going on. There are also reports here that some complaints were received. Then over 420,000 content were now re-uploaded when the users affected appealed. Isn't this an encroachment on people's privacy to post what they want? Of course, we do not support the proliferation of fake news or misinformation. But when what people are saying is factual or is just their opinion, why should they be taken off the internet?
The critical question I even asked when the news broke is that I wondered whether the government has the capacity to infiltrate the hosting of social media handles and then decide they want to remove and they want to sustain. They don't have control over those. So does it mean that they are now working in cahoots with the owners of those media social media platforms, I am not an expert in that field. I need those who are experts in that field to let us know whether anybody could have such authority to get into social media platforms and then do whatever they like to do with those of individuals.
Vice President Zako, do you remember when Twitter was banned in Nigeria after many Nigerians expressed their displeasure over a particular statement that was posted on the late former President Muhammadu Buhari's Twitter handle, and then Twitter was banned in Nigeria for over 6 months. Then also, if they can go behind to the back end and delete what they consider to be harmful content, what about all those terrorists that post on TikTok, that post on social media with their faces, with their weapons, with the ransom monies that they collect? Can this kind of technology not be used to trace them and bring them to book as well?
Is where I get concerned, and I believe that every other right-thinking Nigerian will get concerned, because what constitutes obscenity or what constitutes unacceptable posts is now to be decided by a subjective assessment or by a subjective opinion of the people in power. Now, Twitter could be banned. Fine, any media handle can be banned. But that means the same way you can protect your airwave and say a particular airline cannot come into your country and all that. But to now enter into the platform to delete some posts, manipulate some others, that is where I get baffled. Whether they have such capacity or competence to do so, or are they now forcing the owners of those social media platforms to do their biddings against the expectations of the people? Because there's no way a criticism of government will be pulled down when a post by a non-terrorist is sustained. And it doesn't add up in any way, manner, or form. So, and these are things that will now lead to critical questions being asked and then strategic actions being taken. Any government that seeks to undermine the good intentions of the people must be removed from office. And that is by way of general election. It is coming, and we expect people to do what is right with their thumbs.
Vice President Zako, one more concern being raised by Nigerians is if somebody has access to the back end of your social media, could they not go there and post content that is detrimental to you? Say the opposition or people who hate anyone, these opposition figures, people who are in the race before the 2027 elections, that anyone could go to the back end, post anything, attribute it to them, and then cause harm to them or cause the government to go after such a person saying you posted this on your platform. Meanwhile, it was someone who gained access through the back end and posted such.
Of course it is possible, and that is why we must ask questions from these owners of these social media platforms. We must ask questions and they have to provide answers to us. How come the government was able to enter into your platform? Does the government now hack? Did they hack the system to enter and then do whatever they wanted to do? Or did they give them the key, the password to the system to go and commit such hacking activity? These are questions that experts must ask. I don't belong to such expertise, and I will not be able to ask questions other than to raise issues and expect that the answers be found. You are very right when you say that with such manipulation, nobody is safe on the social media platform. Nobody is safe because anybody can go at the back end and post what you didn't post, and you bear the brunt. You bear the consequences of such posts, and nobody will agree that ever did not post that. That is now a manipulation of the system towards debilitation of our system in Nigeria. Nigeria that does not even produce anything, nothing. We have nothing to show the world other than to use the one invented and produced by others to undermine our own system. Is that not shameful? Absolutely shameful, I consider.
Absolutely shameful, Vice President Zako. Before you go for a few minutes, I want us to quickly talk about banditry and terrorism in Nigeria. It's quite unfortunate. Every other day we hear news of a certain number of people being killed. To many Nigerians who live in places they believe are safe, these are just statistics. We are having humans with lives, with blood flowing through their veins, with ambitions, people who just want to live, dying, and then being regarded as statistic. Gunmen have killed 15 people in an attack in Plateau State, and the leader of one of the development associations there said it was difficult for security agents to get to that community because their roads were inaccessible. Now, an Islamic cleric has come out to warn against dialoguing with bandits and terrorists. Bello Turji, at this moment, I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Choma, two are very important. Let me say this with all modicum of respect to our people. Experts have said that two major causes of banditry and terrorism in Nigeria are: one, scramble for solid mineral resources in the north, which means there is a nexus between the prevalence of solid mineral resources and the incidences of terrorism and banditry. Number two, introduction of genetically modified products into the Nigerian system. That there is a battle between the proponents of GMO products and those who want to sustain African and especially Nigerian organic products. And that battle has led to the problems you are seeing in Benue. Experts have and scholars have watched and said, why the attack on Benue, the food basket of the country? Why continuously attacking Benue? What is the reason why this continuous attack on Benue? The whole simple explanation that scholars have found out is that they want the organic foods coming from any food basket to dry up so that Nigerians will be forced to import GMO products. In which case, those who are interested in international spreading of genetically modified products, those who want minimized population of the world, those who are angered by a continuous increase in the population of Africa and Nigeria, are not happy that Africa and Nigeria are increasing in population with the chances of changing the new world order. And they want to come in through subtle means to begin to reduce the population of this country through the consumption of genetically modified goods. Agric experts and agronomists may not agree, but security experts are now thinking in that direction, that there must be a link between terrorism in Benue, a Plateau axis, and issues about food productivity. Choma, it is a food for thought which researchers are still working on. But I tell you that behind every smoke, there must be fire somewhere. Where the fire is coming from, I do not know, but we are seeing the smoke. Let experts go and fish out where the fire is coming from. GMO products introduction and the incidences of solid minerals are the major problems that Nigerians have up north. Otherwise, where the bandits and the terrorists getting the huge cache of resources that they are using to process and prosecute their war against the people.
Thank you so much, Barrister Fred and Zako, for your insight on the World News at 12 this afternoon. I do appreciate you. Have an amazing day.
Many thanks.
Thank you so much. You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Before we go, let's take the news from our sister station in the capital city, Voice of the People 96.1 FM, Abuja.
Thanks for staying with us. These are the latest developments in the nation's capital. I am Kamyang John. A federal high court in Abuja has ordered the temporary freezing of 4 accounts belonging to the immediate past group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mile Kyari. Justice Emeka Nwite granted the order after the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, filed an ex parte motion citing ongoing investigations into alleged conspiracy, abuse of office, and money laundering. The EFCC argued that the accounts are subject to investigations and subject to misappropriation of funds and breach of trust. The matter has been adjourned to the 23rd of September for further hearing. Presidential aide Tope Fasua has called on the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, to urgently address the growing problems of indiscriminate refuge dumping in Abuja. In a post on social media, Fasua shared pictures of heaps of garbage across the city, warning that a waste management crisis could undermine the minister's infrastructural achievements. He described the scenes as gory, pointing to areas such as Life Camp, Gwarimpa, and Wuse 2, where residents have been forced to live beside mountain waste. Fasua urged that some locations be declared emergencies and cleared immediately to save the capital from a worsening environmental hazard. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has arrested 8 suspected traffickers and rescued 29 victims in Abuja. The operation was carried out in Gwarimpa following an intelligence report from the Ghanaian embassy, which raised an alarm over a Ghanaian national allegedly lured to Nigeria under the false pretense. NATIP says the victim was defrauded of $3,500, had his passport seized, and was left at the mercy of the syndicate. The agency confirmed that most of the rescued victims are foreign nationals from West African countries. It added that the operation is in line with the bilateral cooperation agreement and international anti-trafficking framework. Over 6 West African countries have converged in Abuja for the 13th West African Deaf Football and 3rd Athletics Championship. The 2-week event officially kicked off on Tuesday at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium with a technical committee meeting held to resolve possible disputes amongst participating nations. Organized by the West African Deaf Sports Union under the leadership of Amuda Yusuf Ibrahim, the championship is part of activities marking the 50th anniversary of ECOWAS. The games, which will run until August 30, will be declared open by Ibrahim, who formally welcomed all participants. Those are the latest developments in the nation's capital. I am Kamyang John.
Thank you for staying tuned. You have been listening to World News at 12, right here on Voice of the People on 90.3 FM. You just listened to the news from our sister station in Abuja, Voice of the People, 96.1 FM. Now, before we go, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard the Palestinians are fleeing Gaza City district as Israel begins first stages of assault. Gunmen kill 15 people in fresh Plateau attacks. Cleric warns against dialogue with terrorists. Belliturgy and federal government shuts down over 13 million social media accounts over claims of offensive content. That is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903 FM. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Stay tuned. Coming up shortly by 1:30 p.m. is Matters.